right. All right. What's going on, folks? It's your friendly neighborhood Professor Cag. Most of you don't know me. I only think I actually know a few of your instructors just because they were once upon a time my instructors too, as well. I am Damon Cagnolatti. I'm a former, I'm a King Drew alumni. I graduated in the class of 2003. Um, right now, I kind of gave a little bit of an intro saying, I'm a friendly neighborhood professor, kind of jokingly, but in reality, I actually am. I'm a professor of English at Cerritos College, but I stay really rooted and grounded in the neighborhood too. So, in terms of community activism, community work, working around my own neighborhood, Los Angeles, Carson, Compton, Long Beach. I'm usually active and kind of sort of out there in these streets, just trying to get some folks right on into college, using what I got in my pockets to make some change. So a little bit of background about myself. After King Drew, I went to UC Riverside as a biological sciences major. And then at some point in time, at a later date, that switched to English. After I majored in English, then I went on and graduated from UC Riverside, and I happened to get into Penn State. It took a lot of, it wasn't by happenstance, but it took a lot of work in order for me to kind of get to that point. I think we'll probably kind of touch on a couple of those experiences and those instances, but let me tell you something, folks. When Nipsey Hussle, right, our kind of famous modern day philosopher, right, the late great, actually said that the marathon continues. I don't think that he actually was saying that as a joke or for play. I think what he was saying that for was really because he was on the grind and he recognized the struggle that always occurs when you're on the road to success. And so, in a certain way, that phrase, that metaphor, right, the marathon really captures what life is like after high school. And it also too, or at least for me, it does, because that's how I actually made sense of what life was like after high school for me, especially after I left California and went out to Penn State. That's where I did my graduate degree, again in English. Side note, between you and me, we're not going to tell anybody else, okay? Teachers, y'all close your ears for a second. It's just between me and the students, right quick. I did not want to be stuck reading books and writing papers for the rest of my life. This is between you and me, okay? I don't know how I made it as an English major. It was a path that literally just unfolded for me. And like, I was kind of sort of just searching for how I could become better, just individually, just as myself. I didn't really quite know exactly what I wanted to do, but it just literally unfolded for me. And lo and behold, the thing that I did not want to do is the thing that I do the most now. So after Penn State, I actually came back to California. This was like right around the time of the recession. I got a job at Cerritos College teaching English. Stuck reading books and writing papers for the rest of my entire life. But in that space, and also too, just really at Cerritos College, I found something like a third or a fourth home. Of course, King Drew is my second, right? Right behind my mom's home. But in Cerritos College, I was able to find another home, and I was able to find another family, extended family, really made up primarily of students and a few faculty members, a sprinkle of administrators here and there, but mostly students. And these students, oftentimes, they end up coming from not only LA, Compton, and Watts, but also to King Drew and from Cerritos and the surrounding areas. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think I could have actually chosen a better, not only major, but career path, and also to even a profession for me to actually do the work that I really have a passion for. And that's what I'm doing this morning. That's why I'm here with you all this morning, because I woke up this morning with like a sick grind and a real ill passion to want to just get out and talk and to help. So, I mean, I'm here for y'all. And I definitely am here to try to help to provide some sort of kind of guidance or to answer any kind of questions, or to really just give you an honest account of what my experience has been like after, during, if y'all want to go before, we can talk about before, but during and after King Drew. So yeah, that's I am your friendly neighborhood Professor Cag, swinging through the hallways, highways, and byways of a local Zoom room near you. What's happening, folks? Good morning.
Chica, are you ready?
Yeah. So the first question I have for you is, why did you choose your specific career or major?
So initially, I went in as to UC Riverside as a bio-sci major. Most of the time that I was at King Drew, I was very focused on becoming a doctor, a physician, an ER physician with a specialty in cardiovascular surgery. But I used to shadow doctors like over the summer, and I would volunteer like every summer in somebody's ER, Daniel Freeman, uh, uh, UCLA, whoever, Centinela. But like around maybe my second year in at UCR after I graduated from King Drew, um, I got finished with all of my major coursework. I mean, all of my prerequisites. So all of the, what some people call the fun classes, right? I mean, I thought that they were fun. This is the classes that were mostly dialogue, discussion based. It really kind of focused a lot on critical thinking. After that, I had to take all math and science courses. And at that point in my academic journey, I realized that I realized how I started to learn best, or how I started to recognize patterns. And I also recognized how much I loved and valued those classes with discussion and critical that taught critical thinking, and where I could exchange with other students and kind of just sharpen up my own mind, my own mental tools. And so one day, after horribly, ooh, can I give like a timeout disclaimer? Like I wasn't a straight A student, y'all. Okay, again, look, teachers, y'all close your ears. Okay, I'm saying some bad words. Student, look, man, between me and y'all. Okay, I was not a straight A student. Let me tell you something. That second semester in my second year, when I took all math and science courses, I failed all but one. Failed or got D's in all but one class. I ended up on the dean's list. Y'all heard about the dean's list? You could just like nod or give me a thumbs up if y'all have heard about the dean's list. Y'all heard about the dean's list? Yeah, okay. Some of y'all see some heads nodding out there, right? Dean's list is usually like kind of a good thing, right? High academic honors, right? And marks and stuff like that, right? There's another dean's list that they ain't tell you about in college. It's called academic probation. And academic probation is the dean's list that you don't want to actually be on, because you receive a letter from the dean of that college that says you got below a certain GPA, and if you don't get it together, then we're gonna have to ask you to actually exit. I got one of those letters and I ended up making it on that list. Don't worry, I did not tell my mom, so she would not put it on the refrigerator. That was one that we wasn't gonna put on the refrigerator at all. But I did actually talk with one of my old teachers. She was my fourth, seventh, and eighth grade teacher. We just developed a close relationship, and she's really like my academic mom. I was telling her about my struggles and how I was failing the classes. And she was like, well, Damon, you know that you're smart. What are you thinking about doing? Let's figure this out. I wanted to change my major to like sociology or psychology. She said, hold on, think about English. And in my head, when she said that, I didn't say this out loud because she's like my academic mom. She could kind of sort of reach through. This is back in the time of like AOL and like AIM, AOL Instant Messenger. She could kind of sort of reach through the screen, and I know that she could pop me right upside the back of my head if I said this out loud. But in my mind, I said, I don't want to be stuck reading books and writing papers for the rest of my life. I don't want to do an English major. Why would I want to do that? That's not, no, that's not appetizing. That's not sexy. I have parties to go to. Again, all of this stuff here is in my mind, and I said to myself, but because of who she was, I trusted her and went out on a limb. My first class was a class. It was 17th century restoration literature. It's the reason why I did not want to become an English major. I thought that it was perhaps maybe the material, the most furthest away from where I was. But that class there kind of forced me to become a real student. And what I mean by a real student, meaning I had to actually show up to the professor's office hours, like every single week that they had them. I was the first one knocking at the door. I might have even gone when office hours weren't even in session, just hanging out like around the office, just waiting for them to come on back so I could catch them like in between classes. I used to sit down. I became friends with my TA. The TA is the one who actually teaches the smaller section. And then I started taking notes because I had to. I sat in the front of the class. I was always the one raising my hand, asking questions, because I didn't know 17th century restoration. All I knew was hip hop, comics, and basketball. And outside of that, a lot of the stuff that they were talking about didn't really make sense. But eventually, over time, when I started doing those things, taking notes, going to the office hours, and also making friends, kind of sort of, right, just communicating back and forth really heavily on the assignments and the readings and like asking my questions to the TA, that's when I became a lot more acclimated into the English major. And I was able to actually get out of that class with like a B plus. So I was like, I could do this. I could do this. So that's how I became an English major.
So, as we already know, your current career wasn't the career you thought you were going to be in high school. So, can you let me, well, us know, what was your dream career when you were in high school?
Good question. Good question. I really wanted to just help people. That's the number one thing that I wanted to do. I knew that doctors help people. Ergo, I wanted to become a doctor, right? But there was an intervention that happened in 2002, 2003, like during that year. That was my graduation year, my senior year, as a matter of fact. There was an instructor. I believe he actually showed up here yesterday and gave you all a career talk by the name of Thomas Lee.
Different period, but yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, different period, different period. Okay, so Thomas Lee, brief background about Thomas Lee. Thomas Lee was an English instructor. I believe he taught 10th and 11th grade literature, even American literature. He also ran a group called Emerge. And I'll tell you, the first day that we senior year, we're all trying to, build up our extracurricular activities, and we're all trying to, join different groups and different clubs and things like that. We saw that there was a group about hip hop, and it was like, oh, okay, let's go check this one out. Let's go see what it's about. The first day, we're on the third floor lecture hall, where the theater is, right by, I think, kind of on the library side. And first day, first few minutes in the meeting after school, he plays Nas, a song by Nas, off of his Lost Tapes. Nas, most of y'all have to know who Nas is by now, yeah. Okay, yeah, cool, for sure. Nas dropped a whole bunch of songs that got left off of his major albums, like his first 4 or 5 major albums, and he collected them in a tape called the Lost Tapes. Thomas played 3 songs for us: Purple, Do Rags, and Black Zombies. That conversation right there, where we used Nas, that was the first time, mind you, I've been going to the barbershop all my life. I don't have to go there no more. Y'all see I got this hat on my head. That means I have 0 hair left. Okay, it went all to my face. It got scared, ran away from my head, and just landed right on my face. But back in the day, I used to go to the barbershop. They cut me up real nice. Get my little sideburns lined up and stuff like that. We chop it up about hip hop all day long. We battling back and forth about who the best rapper is, what the greatest album was, Jay-Z this, Nas that, Most Def. Oh, do you know about da 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 da? We talking all about hip hop, but it's all about who we like. It's only about who we like and who we think is better. This was the first time, fast forwarding back to Thomas's class in the Emerge meeting, that was the first time that I had ever gotten encountered with hip hop as something more than a form of entertainment. He made us write an essay in order to join. And in that essay, he asked us, I believe the prompt was something to the effect of, how do you see yourself making a change in the world? And what kind of impact do you think that hip hop can have on the world? Or something to that effect. I think I wrote something like, I don't know, like a synthesis of like a vision of Malcolm X and like Martin Luther King synthesized, right? Coming together, like just kind of combined, not opposed and antagonistic to one another. Because I never really believed the myth or the narrative that Martin and Malcolm just didn't really like each other. I always thought that like, yo, on the low, they probably like hang out, or they might at least just be fond of each other. So what if we actually combine their ideas? That was my thinking in writing that response. And from there, we literally started on this entire journey of providing book mentoring. We held book drives, canned food drives. We had intellectual symposiums. I didn't even know what that word meant until I had joined Emerge. I didn't know what a symposium was. We threw poetry nights. We had folks like Saul Williams come on out. It was like a famous legendary poet, especially on the spoken and underground word scene. Symposium is actually like a collection of experts and kind of organic intellectuals who come together on a panel or who come together across multiple panels to have a conversation and a dialogue with the community about political, social, and cultural issues that are relevant and immediately pressing to those people. That's what like a kind of loose definition of a symposium is, or rather, at least the kind that we actually ran. After, like in the middle of all of those events and that time, I realized what I wanted to do. I didn't have, well, I knew that a lot of my friends did not have some of the wonderful and amazing instructors that I had, right? They didn't have a Miss Cooper to actually teach them AP Environmental Science. They didn't have Miss Soto for like all 4 years of Spanish. I'm not even playing with y'all. Side note, I used to go into Miss Soto's class in like 10th grade in the morning, every single morning. I had me, and it was like my boy DeAndre. We would beat on the tables. We would just beatbox on the tables. That was how we woke up. We just, just every single morning, that was what we did. And then when it was time for us to go ahead on and get to our, our dialogues or, our warm-ups or whatever it was, we got right on down to business. We wasn't playing in Miss Soto's class. But not all my friends had these wonderful instructors. I happened to be lucky. But I also knew that my friends were smart. And that if they did actually have my instructors, or that they had instructors who could connect with them, that would make the difference. That might maybe not necessarily make them like school, but that would make them jazzed and enthusiastic about pursuing their own passions and actually going for what it is that they dream about, as opposed to just being completely put off from the school and then having that put offness be compounded by like, an instructor that's not so sensitive, or that's not so like kind of connected, or not so in tune with the needs of their class, or so, that could change the course of their lives. And all it is for me, like this realization just kind of came from me. It started from Black Zombies. It started from Black Zombies, Do Rags and Purple. It started from a Nas song. So just, in short, getting back to your question, I know I'll be going off on dialogues, y'all. I'm sorry about that. Yo, like I'm like a for real professor. I'm gonna take us all off on the journey, but we're gonna get back to the road though. I gotta take y'all down the street though so we can see these sites right quick. But getting back to your question, I decided right then and there when I was 16 years old. My birthday is late. Uh, I decided right then when I was 16 years old that what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, in addition to being a doctor, right? Like I was like, okay, yo, cool. I'm gonna do this ER physician stuff. Like that's gonna be cool. That's not gonna change. Or you know, this right here is the main thing that I really want to do. No matter what else I got going on, if I'm a doctor, if I'm a chef, if I'm a basketball player, if I'm a whoever, this right here is what I'm gonna always find time, make time, and spend time doing. And that is the work that we started doing when we were seniors in Emerge.
So if you don't mind telling us, could you tell us what a general salary for someone in your position or career is?
When I started, I want to say it was like 65,000, right? Starting out, maybe 65, 70, something like that. Now it's like 85, 90 to come in as a tenure track English professor. It's like 85,000 to 95,000, excuse me, 85 to $90,000 a year as a starting salary. And that's only if you come in with your bachelor's degree, or excuse me, sorry, your master's degree in that subject, right, or an equivalent field. If you were to come in, like, say, for example, as excuse me, if you were to come in as a like with your doctorate, you would easily start off at 100,000. You'd easily start off at six figures, right? If you have your doctorate plus some extra units, like if you've taken like some additional kind of college units or something like that, then you might even be able to start off at a little bit of a higher rate. But here's the thing though, it's part of what, so like I didn't, we didn't have home ec. Like, I don't think anybody had home ec like in high school, like in 2003 anymore. I think they had gotten rid of the course altogether. I think we had like life skills or something like that. But what we didn't actually learn, well, nobody can really tell you this because I mean, I don't know, unless you actually have a professor come back and talk with you. I'm gonna give y'all some game today, right now, just in case. FYI, if anybody is interested in giving some thought, some serious consideration to becoming a professor, let me tell you that if you think about my benefits plus the starting salary, I didn't start off at 65, right? 65, 70. I probably started off at like 90, right? Like with my benefits. Here's what benefits look like. You, your mama, your dad, your little brother, your sister, right? Whoever it is who's in your household, who's part of who you take care of, all y'all could get covered. All of y'all could get covered. If you're in the household and you are indeed the one who is the primary breadwinner in your house, meaning that you actually bring in the most bread, the most money, that means that you have as a professor, you have access to healthcare that could be provided for your whole family. If my mom at the time when I came back from Pennsylvania, she had lost her job and was actually in the process of losing her home. This was during the time of the Great Recession, right? So things were tough economically all the way around. My mom was no different, right? When I was able to actually get a job at Cerritos College full time, that's exactly what happened. I put my mom and my little sister on my health insurance from my school that they actually covered. I said, yo, look, I'm the primary breadwinner here, right? Boom, this here is, I would like to add these people, to my health insurance. And they were like, yeah, sure, cool, no problem. That's what we pay you for. That's why we pay you. So it's not even just about the amount of money, right? Like, whatever the starting salary kind of is. When you're considering a job, whether that be as a professor, right? Of course, I had my selfish bit earlier, right? I made my plug for being a professor earlier, but right, thinking outside of the professor, when you're thinking about getting a job, right, when you're thinking about not getting a job, but you're thinking about getting a career, there's a difference, right? A job will get you income, right? And not necessarily a lot of income, right? But it'll get you income. Income is temporary. Income is hourly based, right? Or in a certain kind of way, right? Like salary based, but more so it's hourly based. Um, when you have a job, that job there is only going to last as long as whoever it is who has actually hired you, right, actually deems it okay. When you have a career, you have a little bit more longevity, right? And by longevity, I just mean like longevity to your paycheck, right? A career is something that you can actually extend not just for 1 or 2 years, right? Like, I go on and I work at Hot Topic, or I go on and I work at, Subway, or, I work at Foot Locker, or I work at, Cheesecake Factory as a um as like, say for example, right, like a busser, right? I just want to kind of just stay there and I'm gonna just be cool. You'll have a job and you'll have income coming in. However, let's say that you were at Cheesecake Factory and you actually went from being a busser to a waiter to being a lead trainer, right, to being a manager. When you get to like that manager space, that's when you have an opportunity, right, to engage in a career. A career is something that could actually sustain your financial health and vitality for a long period of time, right? A job is something that's temporary, it's hourly, right? Meaning that the security is not as coherent, is not as tight knit there. You could get fired and then let go. Now you ain't got no income coming in, right? Versus a career. Sometimes a career actually requires that you actually have a degree or a certificate, right? If that's the case, get on your grind. Go figure out what it actually takes in order for you to get that certificate, or in order for you to get the degree that'll satisfy, or that'll gain you access, not even satisfy, but that'll gain you access to that career. The name of the game is access. How can you get in, right? I used to tell people all the time, like, yo, I'm from LA. Like, if I can't get in through the front door, I'm gonna get in through the back door. I'm gonna get in through the side window. I'm gonna get in through the attic, crawl space, or underneath, right? However it takes, I'm gonna actually get into where it is that where I need to be. By hook or crook, I'm going to actually make it on in there. It's gonna be hard work, grit, and determination that's gonna actually get me on in there. And nothing is going to stop me. So that's what I would say. That's how much I make. But there's some caveats and some context that has to be put around how much it is that I started out at, right? Because you have to think about it a little bit more. You have to think about salaries and careers a little bit more complexly than just how much do you kind of make, right? We won't even get into like retirements and things of that sort, right? But not just yet, unless y'all want to. We could tap in about that. That's some important information as well.
So I'm sure that COVID-19 has changed your career a lot since you are a professor. So can you let us know, how has COVID-19 changed your career and how was it like before?
Man, before, man, hey, I was popping in the classroom. I'm not even gonna lie, my classroom was popping. Let me tell you something. We have fun, okay? I tried to make, in my mind, the vision of class that I'm always trying to get, that I'm always trying to like kind of reach, the rung that I'm trying to always kind of reach for, is that first experience that I had at King Drew, 12th grade year, at that first emerge meeting, where we went over Black Zombies and Purple and Do-Rags. I'm always trying to recreate that experience before my other students, because I'm like, yo, look, wait, I want to share this with you. This is dope. So when you come on into my classroom, right, I'm the same way that you see me now is how I am, but like live and in person. I always have my students, for me, writing, the only way you get better at writing is to write. So I always have my students writing. Now, here's the thing. Writing, when you say it like that, sounds boring. Writing, when you talk about it within the context of the cipher, freestyling, battling, right, is completely different. Writing without the concept of a mistake is completely different. Being freed, right, from like the trappings of, oh my gosh, I don't want to make a mistake. Oh my gosh, am I saying this right? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my God. Writing, being freed from all of that stuff is actually fun. I'm not even lying to you. I show clips of jazz artists in my classroom to show my students how to get their essays started. That's like the hardest part of writing, at least for most of my students, it is, right? And we have these really live interactions and these really live exchanges. I have them freestyling I have freestyle days, right? Where we'll come in, right? We'll freestyle our essays. Okay, cool. Go home, go to Cold Stones, right? Go do something that you love. Then come back, go rewrite that essay, right? When you come back to class, right, for the next day, cool. Show me what you've actually what you've revised. Now we battle. Battling is just exchanging the papers, right? Boom. Look, let me show y'all how to critique somebody's work. Not even critique their work, but really to identify what the strengths are in their papers, and also too, what challenges they're faced with and how we could raise their level of skill, right? How we could get them to level up in their writing. So that's battling, right? Now, before they actually even submit a paper, they already have 2 drafts and they've gone through the writing process. That's my point. Before COVID-19, we were able to much more fully engage with writing as a process, just like how learning was a process. Now that COVID-19 has happened, and we've transitioned to remote instruction, it's a much bigger challenge for me to try to create new spaces or dynamics, like, or wheels, uh, new digital ciphers. It's a little bit more difficult for me, but I got a couple of tricks up my sleeve. You know what I'm saying? See, like, Jamboard, right? You know what I mean? Like, Facebook, oh wait, my bad. Y'all don't even use Facebook no more, huh? Dang, did I just show my age? IG, Snapchat, right? Okay. I know what y'all do, right? TikTok, you know what I'm saying? All of those kind of mediums, all of those examples right there of communication platforms all become more relevant, much more relevant now to my online class. And so I find, like, I try to find different, more creative ways to integrate not only social media platforms, but also too, to actually get my students out of Zoom. I have them come and tap in with me on IG, like a IG live session, just because I may end up actually having like a special guest come through to the neighborhood. There's like a whole theme in my class. Folks are coming on through to Professor Cag's neighborhood. I'm a neighborhood professor. I ain't never ever. I left to go to Pennsylvania and came right on back to the neighborhood, just so that way, I could start teaching again and start opening up more spaces where I can teach folks what it is that I actually learned, and also to help folks to actually develop their own experiences where they begin to love and find their own passion for education and for self-discovery and self-determination. So, I might have a special guest come on through to the neighborhood. It could be like the director of writing at the director of writing and composition at Howard. It could be, one of our former alumni from King Drew, right? Who's went from being a fashion stylist to being a celebrity chef. It could be anybody, right? It could be, a CEO who I just recently actually got on my board, right? I mean, I have everybody try, as many people as possible come on through and just talk with my students. That's kind of how it changed. So it's gotten, I would say, at this stage, a year after remote teaching, it's shifted more so to more of a community vibe, or at least I'm trying to create a kind of community vibe, and more of a conversational dynamic, through like these electronic mediums that we kind of have. Which, I mean, again, this is like a year later. I'm kind of fresh and new at this. I've been teaching in the classroom for about 10. I got 10 years worth of experience in that right there. So, it's a different, that's a different context. I got a little bit of headway there, but this online space here, in this kind of remote learning context, is still something that I'm trying to discover. It's still something that I'm trying to learn more about. Still something that I'm trying to actually get better at.
Okay, so you seem very dedicated about your craft, but something I wanted to ask was what motivates you to work in your career choice every day?
Good. That's a great question. Um, it changes. It changes. I think every single day, especially during the pandemic. Oh my gosh! Like, this is like a real. I had to talk to myself. I had to talk to myself every day, every day during the remote learning in the pandemic. Like, okay, Dame, what we doing today? Teaching? You sure? Yeah. Okay. What else would I be doing? You right. Let's go get this knowledge, because you got to go get it to everybody else, man. Shoot, we got to make sure that other folks actually get it. That conversation was one that I was having with myself every single day, like during the pandemic, especially during the early part. So I say that it changes because, you know, at certain points, at a certain point, it was my mom and my sister. They were the ones that kept me motivated to continue on through college. They were the ones that kept me motivated to continue on through graduate school. And then it grew. My sister is 12 years younger than me. I saw her, right, or excuse me, in my students, I saw her. Once I became a faculty member at Cerritos College, then my students started motivating me, right? Um, I would say most recently, I actually so last year I started we made Emerge into a nonprofit. What started off as a student group on campus at King Drew, we took and made it into a whole nonprofit now. And as a matter of fact, one of my classmates who graduated the same year that I did goes by the name of DeAndre Rose. I mentioned him earlier. That was my boy Dre. We used to beat on the tables in the morning, early in the morning in Miss Soto's class, just sitting up here trying to make some music and rapping other people's songs. But he and I actually started the process and the paperwork last year to make Emerge into a nonprofit, and we were able to do so. We became a 501c3. We were established in January of last year. No, excuse me, March of 2020, and just about a month or two ago now, he actually passed away, unfortunately, due to COVID-19. Excuse me. Um, so it changes, right? Now, my motivation, in addition to my students, in addition to my mom, in addition to my little sister, is now my friend who was more like a brother to me, is to fulfill the dreams that we really were 16, like right where y'all sitting at the same school y'all are at. We were right there talking about what we wanted to do to make changes in the neighborhoods that we came from. I was from LA, he was from Compton. My first time actually really spending time south of the 105 was all throughout my entire King Drew experience. For him, or excuse me, for me, D Dre was somebody who was always motivated and somebody who was always passionate about transforming the community and staying connected with the people that were in that community and building his community up. We used to always talk about ideas before it became like a thing on the radio, right? The notion of buying back the block was something that one of our professors had actually kind of hit us with as a strategy that we might want to think about right after a symposium that we actually threw at UC Riverside when we started up Emerge out there, right? That was one of his strategies that he had given us. He was like, yo, okay, yo, we really got to kind of sort of take this. We might want to think about doing a nonprofit. We might be able to do some things there, right? We could buy up the block, open up educational and community centers where we kind of teaching folks really the values of the skills that they actually need in order not just to live and survive, but also too to enjoy life and to like take it to the next level, to really reflect on themselves and to learn how to love themselves in a different kind of way. That became, after D passed away, that became like very, very clear for me. Just a lot of those old conversations that we had got brought back, and a lot of those ideas that we had, you know, I mean, I can go back to his master's thesis and kind of point out like right where he, you know, where those conversations were that he had. But, you know, that's where my motivation actually lies now. It's to fulfill the will, the mission of my friend, and to pay honor and to pay homage to the dreams that we actually had, that we started out building as 16-year-olds, to make sure that that comes through to full fruition, and to make sure that we actually change, that we actually make some change in the neighborhood.
So I'm sorry to hear that your friend had passed. He sounds like a great man, by the way. And I would just like to ask, is the people in your workplace very orientated? And if so, how do you maintain good relationship with your colleagues?
Man, that's a good question. You know how you go to like your first maybe semester or year, right? Maybe even now, like in certain classes, you'll have some people who you recognize, like you're like, okay, here's some qualities and traits and characteristics that I can definitely, that I gravitate towards. Here's some qualities and characteristics that I don't necessarily gravitate towards. And you recognize these qualities and characteristics in individuals or people much in the same way that you notice it now, right, in high school. Those same kind of patterns also extend into certain workplaces, right? Not all of them, but they extend in certain ways, right, in the workspaces. I say that to say that start cultivating your navigation skills, right? Your social navigation skills, your social navigational capacities, right? Your ability to, I'm gonna actually, man, shoot, heck, you know, man, hey, we just spoke D up right now. So I'm gonna actually use a phrase that he used to always say. He used to always say, man, I can get, I can communicate with anybody on any level. He has a certain voice and a certain way that he actually says it. Miss Soto, you know that voice. I'm thinking about that voice right now, kind of in my head. I'm not gonna imitate it, but he would always say, you know, I can get down with anybody on any level. You know, I can talk with anybody on any level. It doesn't matter, right? You know, if you're just a person who's sitting on the side of the street, on the side of the freeway, right? You know, boom, I'm gonna stop off, you know what I'm saying, slide you a buck. Yo, what's happening? Right? You know, boom, and then switch right and go right on over to, you know, Cal State, you know, Cal State Northridge, right? And go sit in my professor's office hours and go and have a conversation with him about this master's thesis, right? I don't care what it is. I can get on with anybody on any level. So when what he means, right, that whole notion of what he means by get down, right, in that context is, the ability to communicate effectively, right, the ability to recognize an individual's humanity, and to also be able to not just recognize it like, okay, hey, I see your humanity and you stay over there, right? But no, I see you and I'm gonna engage with you, right? But I can also too modulate, right, or pick and choose how it is that I want to engage with you. It's like your social navigational capacity is like a muscle, right? If you do pull-ups, right, or push-ups or squats, right, or whatever kind of exercise, you stretch, right? And about the only exercise that I probably get in, like, about around these days right now, man, heck, I'm a little bit older now and I'm a professor. Man, I got a lot of teaching that I got to do, folks. I don't get to the gym as often, but if you're stretching, your muscle, right, you begin to feel, right, you begin to get more connected. Your mind begins to get more connected with that muscle. And so therefore you can recruit more fibers to be able to do more with it, right? That's what he meant by get down. It's your capacity, right, to engage with others and to also to retain and preserve a sense of yourself in that exchange. So I would say that most workplaces after high school are like this, and my workplace is no exception, right? And that's precisely how I engage and how I interact with a lot of my colleagues, is with that same kind of emotional muscle and with that same level of flexibility in terms of my understandings, right? But number one, before the flexibility, during the engagement, before all of the flexibility and all of that stuff that I was just referring to, the number one thing that I lead out with, authenticity. I am who I am. Like, I'm going to talk about hip hop and I'm going to utilize slang, right, when it is strategically important for me to do so. My mama taught me a concept when I was a child, right? I played somebody else might have actually got this same lesson, but give me a thumbs up or a head nod if y'all got this lesson. When y'all actually started playing too much, right, and at the wrong times or in the wrong spaces, did your mama ever tell you, look here, come here. There's a time and a place for you to play and a time for you to have fun. And a time for you to handle business. This ain't the time to play. Anybody else, mama, give them that lesson? No, mine, that was just me. It was just okay. All right, cool. I just want to make sure I wasn't the only one. Right? That lesson right there, that's an important lesson. That's really, really a foundation of an important concept called context, right? So in turn, like you always have to exercise contextual awareness, right? That's the important component that helps you to be able to try to navigate through that, is that contextual awareness.
Okay, so do you see the value in students learning things that can help prepare them for the future? And what key points would you like students to take away from your presentation?
Repeat the first question again.
Do you see value in students learning things that can help them prepare for the future?
Got you. Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Right. Of course, I see value in students learning things that'll help to prepare them for the future, right? If for no other reason than I'll give you a conundrum. What happens, or what do you do when you get encountered, right? As young folks, right? As youth, as students, what's the grade level? What grade level?
Juniors.
We're juniors.
Juniors. Okay, 11th. Okay, I remember my 11th grade year too, for sure. So let's say that you get encountered with a hypothetical problem, and as juniors, this might be a little bit less hypothetical and a little bit more real. You get confronted with a problem that's too tall to get over, too low to get under, too wide and expansive for you to get around, and too thick and dense for you to bust through. What do? You could run away. You could run away, right? This problem is too tall, it's too low, it's too wide, and it's too thick for you to bust through. You could run away, but then that problem is going to stay right there. You could try to go all the way around it, only to realize that you can't go all the way around it because it's too wide and expansive, right? So you end up further away from where you started, right? You end up off track. You could just sit there and just not do nothing about it, but problem ain't gonna go nowhere, neither you. Or you could actually try to find some other people who are dealing with this same problem, link up with them, put your heads together, come up with a strategy for how you could actually solve that problem together. And in order for you to come up with that strategy for you to solve that problem together, what you're going to have to both do is rely on each other's experiences, wisdom, and knowledge. In that relationship, you're going to exchange those ideas, those wisdom, those experiences, that knowledge. You're going to exchange all of that. In that exchange, you gain the ability to plan for your future based on the things that you didn't experience, but that someone that you heard that your partner who you're planning with actually went through. So the lessons and insights that they've already gained that you've yet to actually encounter, you can get to those lessons and insights. Is almost kind of like, I grew up in the Sega Genesis era. It was really like the Nintendo back end of Atari kind of Nintendo era, but like I knew I had like mad Sega Genesis games though, right? We used to use like what they call quote unquote cheat codes, right? Like up, down, left, right, A start together, right? That's for Sonic the Hedgehog, right? You know, those sort of kind of things. When you exchange in that dialogue with somebody and they give you those tools and insights, you're basically getting the cheat code on success, on some successful tips and tools. That's something that you might be able to actually utilize, right? To when you get back to that problem, that's something that you might be able to actually utilize in order to help you not to go around it, not to try to go above it or below it, but to break that problem that's so massive and thick and dense, to break it down, right? Utilizing the tools of wisdom, of practical experience, and also too of the insights that you got from the people who you actually share, who you got that wisdom from. Right. So that's the value in the first part of the question. That's the value of learning about what it is that you plan on actually doing. Right. That are learning things that can help to prepare you for the future. In terms of the key points that I would like for you all to take away, there's two in particular. One, first and foremost, be ready at any moment. Be ready at any moment to give up who you are. You got to like understand like the giving up who you are for what it is that you'll become. You got to understand that what you'll become is actually so much more greater than what you are right now. Some of y'all are like, man, I'm already great right now. Cag, man, what you talking about, man? You don't even know me, bro. You don't. I hear you, sister, and I hear you, brother. But you know what? Check this out. You still got a lot more living to do. And when you actually live and you expand yourself, like when you get beyond King Drew, let me tell you something. You're going to want to give up your high school self so that way your college self can actually go ahead on and flourish. And then even after that, you're going to want to give up your college self so that way your professional self can actually get out there and start rocking. It's not all that dissimilar from shedding old skins, right? So that's one. Be ready and willing to give up who you are for what it is that you will become. And then lastly, right, my second point is this, right? It's really here just to kind of on a point on fearlessness. The the cave that you're most afraid to go into, the cave that you're most afraid to enter, right? The cave or the space that you're most afraid to enter is also too the cave that holds your greatest potential and your greatest possibility. The cave that you were too afraid to walk into, that you were too afraid to enter, is also the cave that holds your greatest possibility. Y'all are about to embark on a journey. Once you get beyond King Drew, y'all are 11th graders right now. Shoot, even when you get on into your senior year, you're going to be better than you were. You're better than you are today than you were yesterday. When you're a senior, you will be better than you were today. Well, you will be better than you are today. Right? But the point is to never stop growing and to never stop challenging yourself. Your challenge, right? Like if you don't get up in the morning, make that a challenge. Like, you got to get up early in order to actually get ahead. Get up early. Make that your challenge. You don't like to do your homework until the last minute. Make it your challenge to actually get it done. I'm a student right now at UCLA. That's my challenge for myself. I make a challenge to myself to get my work done 3 days before it's actually due. Right? Sometimes I hit my mark, sometimes I don't. All right, but that's about it. That was the last point that I wanted to share with y'all. I see we running out of time. I definitely wanted to thank you all for letting me share this space with you.
Thank you so much, Damon, for sharing so many words of wisdom and stories. And, we truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate it every time that you come back. And, again, I can't stop thinking just how the years have passed.
It's a little bit different now, right?
Yeah, so thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the recording.